This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health. Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health. Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Daily with Doc, Pharmacist Fridays. And you know what Pharmacist Fridays means? It means we have our illustrious friend, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, in the house with us. And let me just tell you a little bit about Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. He is a fantastic man. He gives of himself and his time freely, and he's just a pleasure to work with. Really bright, really friendly and funny gentleman. Pharmacist Ben, and just to get in his craw a bit, this program is for educational purposes only. Its content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences. Results may vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income, and as an empowered individual, you do have options. Pharmacist Ben, how's it going today?
It's going good. How are you doing today, AJ? Good to see you.
I'm doing well.
Hard to see you though a little bit. There's some kind of reflection coming off of your hard time. Wait a minute.
Oh, the zingers are starting early today, folks. Rare form Ben.
Bright reflection.
That's right. Well, Pharmacist Ben, there is a little, you mentioned before to me privately that there might be a little distress going on as to why.
I say distress. It's stress.
You said stress.
Yeah, stress and distress are different. That's an interesting point, though. I'm not just making, it's not just a semantical distinction. Distress is stress that is burdensome. I call it duress. It's burdensome. But stress by itself doesn't have to be burdensome. There's eustress, EU, that's the Greek prefix for good. There's eustress, which is the opposite or the antonym of distress. And they're both a type of stress. So stress can be good or bad. It can be distress or it can be eustress. And eustress is actually beneficial. The body grows and develops and gets stronger in conditions of eustress. And so you got to have a little bit of stress. The reason that's important is because we have this negative connotation every time we hear the word stress. And it's important to distinguish whether that stress is Eustress or distress, good stress or bad stress?
However, you were intimating that the stress related
Distress.
to my
Yeah.
my shininess was not
Yes,
the good
and
kind.
stress is kind of a vague word. The specific term or the specific cause is cortisol. And in other words, cortisol is your stress hormone, I'm sure. And oily skin or skin oiliness is one of the ways the body deals with survival threats. It's part and parcel of an entire spectrum of symptoms. So, for example, oily skin, vasoconstriction in certain parts of the body and vasodilation in other parts of the body, constipation, hyperpigmentation, that's dark spots or melasma, they call it. Those are all manifestations of this generic stress response, which is connected to a whole bunch of stuff. So when our body's under stress, a syndrome ensues that affects a whole bunch of symptoms. And that's why you hear this generic word stress associated with all kinds of symptoms, all kinds of health challenges, because the stress response is keyed into a whole bunch of biochemical processes, some of which are associated with problematic conditions. For example, constipation, hypothyroidism, aforementioned melasma or hyperpigmentation, infertility, anxiety, insomnia, weight gain, and oily skin. These are all signs that the body is trying to deal with some kind of what it perceives as a survival threat. And that survival threat may actually not even be a survival threat, but to the body it is. So, for example, mental or psychological issues that we perceive can be perceived as survival threats when clearly they're not. So you get a credit card bill or IRS audit, or something happens to your kids, or you get fired from your job or whatever, to the body, which is always responsive to our mental nature, that's a survival threat, even though obviously it's not a survival threat, but to the body, based on how the brain perceives it, it can initiate survival chemistry, survival threat chemistry.
Well, thank you very much for that. So now the whole world knows that I'm full of stress.
Yes.
So now,
and by the way, one of the stressors that leads to oily skin is hypoglycemia. So for sugar eaters, people, now I'm not saying this is you, AJ, but people eat a lot of sugar. What will happen is they'll get this high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster. You eat a lot of sugar, your sugar goes up, blood sugar goes up. Insulin comes to the rescue, pulls the sugar down, and for a short period of time, you're hypoglycemic, you're low blood sugar. This is particularly a problem when your insulin is real jumpy. You've been eating a lot of fast-burning carbohydrates. Under those conditions, that drop in blood sugar can initiate a stress response. So high blood sugar from eating donuts and Snickers bars, not you, AJ, I'm not talking about you, but high blood sugar from eating a lot of high glycemic index foods like sweets, for example, will ultimately cause low blood sugar via the insulin response, and that can lead to stress response, which can show up as oily skin. And I bring that up because I see that in kids a lot. And if I see kids who have not necessarily acne, but if have oily skin and perhaps even acne, usually that's indicative of the beginnings of insulin resistance and chronic low glycemia, low blood sugar.
You can't get away with eating a candy bar around Pharmacist Ben.
I didn't say that. Don't not say that. That's not true.
No, because it shows. Like, you can look at me.
Yeah, you can look. I can see that.
AJ, you've been eating cake.
No, it's not one
eating
candy
cake
bar.
again.
No, it's not one candy bar. It's chronic candy bars.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of sweetness,
yes,
I'm going to start on our question, because I'm looking for one of our coaches who's supposed to be there. She is. Natalie is here, who's got a question. So Natalie, you can get ready. But we're going to start with from a question from a viewer named Nancy. She says, please address the use of maltodextrin in 2.0. That spikes your insulin worse than sugar.
Well, that goes under the category of a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So yes, it is true that maltodextrin will cause an insulin spike. Maltodextrin has a high glycemic index. The glycemic index is a measurement of how fast something will break down the sugar, how fast it's absorbed in the body, how much of an impact it's going to have on your blood sugar. And it's true that maltodextrin is rapidly broken down and it does cause a quicker and more dramatic insulin spike than glucose will, than sugar will, I should say. But the maltodextrin concentration is so tiny that really it's not even going to be noticed. It's just a little touch, and it's basically in there. Maltodextrin doesn't taste sweet, so it's in there as a flow agent. It helps improve the dispersion of all the various nutrients in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and it's a trace of it. It's hardly anything. So yeah, it's true. And our viewer or our listener, however she's listening to, getting a hold of our podcast or our video, she's right. It is going to spike glucose. That is true. But there's such a tiny little amount in there that it's next to insignificant. You got way bigger fish to fry, Nancy, than the tiny bit of maltodextrin that you're going to get from Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Not only that, but you're getting a ton of other nutrients that are going to help stabilize your blood sugar. So a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, because she's right. Yes, maltodextrin does have a higher glycemic index than sugar, but the insignificant amount that's in there, as I say, as a flow agent, it keeps the nutrients from caking together, it's next to nothing.
Très interessant as usual. Now, Becca just had a follow-up question. Can stress also contribute to dry skin?
Yeah, in the long run, absolutely. Hypothyroidism. There's a relationship, and that's a good question, actually, because this falls into the category of everything is connected to everything else, and it really highlights the flaws in our reductionistic medical model that focuses on the skin, or focuses on the adrenals, or focuses on the thyroid, or focuses on the digestive system, as if they were separate components of the body. They're not. They're all integrated to each other. So can stress cause dry skin ultimately? Yeah, because stress, adrenal stress, will lead to cortisol secretion, and chronic secretion of cortisol over the long run will suppress the thyroid. And that's the famous adrenal thyroid complex that we talk about as the third point of the triangle of disease. And dry skin is a classic sign of hypothyroidism. So in the long run, yes, via the relationship between cortisol, the stress, cortisol, and the thyroid. Make sense?
Very interesting. Very often you mention the benefits of fasting. And I've got two sort of fasting questions. One being from Sunny, what's the safest 7-day fast for a pre-diabetic who's 67 years old and 165 pounds?
The safest type of fast for a pre-diabetic?
Yes, 7-day fast. Safest 7-day fast for a pre-diabetic.
All right. Well, I don't even like the term pre-diabetes, so I'm assuming they mean that this person's blood sugar this person's starting to lose control of their blood sugar. And then, what was the height and weight? Is that give me a height?
165 pounds. There's no height.
Okay.
67 years old.
Okay, so without height, it's hard to say what 165 pounds is, but so we'll leave it at that. Pre-diabetic just means this patient's starting to lose control of the blood sugar. So, but the safest kind of fast, I'm not really sure what you mean by safest kind of fast, because that kind of implies that there's dangerous kinds of fasts, and I don't know what that really means, because a fast is just when you stop eating. So there's no like dangerous fast as opposed to a safe fast, because all they really mean is that you stopped eating. So I'm not really clear on how you would answer that question, although I can tell you that for diabetics, when you fast and you reduce, obviously, the ingestion of carbohydrates, sugars, what will end up happening eventually is your body will start to burn its own fat to get energy, because there's nothing coming in, so it's going to need energy somewhere. It burns fat for energy, and that's called ketogenesis, and that's actually a good thing. So you'll be getting more energy from ketones, or ketone bodies, as they say, and that's going to really help with diabetics. In fact, fasting is a great strategy for diabetics, or low calorie. The ketogenic diet isn't really isn't a total fast, but it's a very low calorie diet. But fasting will do the same thing. Ultimately, you need your nutrition, so you're not going to fast forever, but fasting for a day or two is ideal for diabetics.
So then a follow-up from Drew is, can you take the BTT and Cal Toddy during a prolonged fast, or will a small amount of calories get rid of the autophagy benefits?
No, there's very little calories in Beyond Tangerine, next to none. And I don't know, what was the other one you said? The
Cal Toddy.
There's a little more, I think, in the Cal Toddy, but no, it's pretty insignificant. You're not gonna jeopardize autophagy or the benefits from fasting with your supplements.
All right, Pharmacist Ben. Now we have
real people.
We have our one of our doozies. Natalie, unmute yourself, please.
Hello, my friends. How are you today?
Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
Natalie, are you able to ask your question, or you need me to kind of?
I was to say, how about you formulate the question and I can fill in the blanks, because I think you might get my semantics a little clearer.
All right, so Natalie's got AFib. She's had blood sugar issues. She's got a back issue, and
she's write all these down. You got a whole list here for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know,
back issue, AFib. What was the second?
Back issue and AFib, no gallbladder.
Oh, Natalie, what are you doing here, girl?
Metoprolol, Eliquis.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. Okay, hang on. I gotta
No,
write this
Eliquis
down. I'm
been
gonna get
using
writer's cramp.
the omegas instead of
Okay,
the
so she's trying to wean herself off. And Natalie, I did mention to you, EFA plus and Ultimate EFA. The omega is not a substitute. So and no matter what we've learned, and then she's on the Hope product, which is the menopausal. She's had and I mentioned the Hope product because it's got a fabulous probiotic in there, and she's had a history of digestive issues.
Well, yeah. Okay, so there's so much going on here. So I got AFib, but I didn't hear the second thing after AFib.
So the AFib goes back. I think we talked a couple years ago.
No, ma'am. I need the second thing after AJ said AFib. You said something else after that.
I mentioned AFib, no gallbladder.
Okay. I thought there was something I missed. I got AFib, no gallbladder, Eliquis, and metoprolol.
Amlodipine.
What am I missing? Not drugs, but just in terms of everything, the list, not just drugs.
Hypothyroid.
Hypothyroid. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Blood sugar.
Unithyroid.
What was that? Blood sugar?
Elevated blood sugar.
Elevated blood sugar. Okay, and what was the other one?
On Unithyroid as
Unithyroid. Yeah, what else?
Yep. That's it.
Okay, so Natalie, Natalie, let me ask a couple things here. And everybody should listen to this because this is kind of generic what Natalie's going through. And I'll point out here in a moment here why I say that. So how old are you? Can I ask you approximately?
67.
67. Okay, and again, approximately, if you tell me your height to weight.
Say, what was the last question?
Height to weight, if you just don't mind.
160.
And height?
5'2".
Okay, gotcha. And then how long are you part of doing longevity, or are you new on the phone?
Yes, yeah, I've been part of longevity for quite a while. Things were fine until some of the circumstances got kind of out of control, and I think we had talked. I have had fall of 23 had been over medicated on my, at that time, the Armour thyroid, which is what flipped me into AFib.
No, Armour thyroid did not flip you into AFib. That's not true. Yeah. So let's talk about all the stuff that's going on. Okay. First of all, it didn't happen overnight.
Correct.
This is degenerative. Not discussing your drugs. We got AFib, we got gallbladder removal, which to me is a digestive issue, and then we got hypothyroidism and elevated blood sugar. Okay, so pretty much you're dealing with what we call the triangle of disease here. Okay, you see the digestive issues, the gallbladder, and by the way, older women are at higher risk for gallbladder issues than anybody else. Why do you suppose that would be? It has to do with estrogen, the hormone estrogen, which is your third point on the triangle of disease. So this is a classic triangle of disease issue. Understandably, because that's what we do in our culture. You've gone to the doctor, and they're looking at every single component, as we just talked about briefly. They're looking at every single component individually. Gallbladder clogged up, they take it out. Heart, you got a AFib. We're going to give you drugs that poison, literally poison your heart to slow down the heart. Now, before I even continue, let me just ask you this. Anybody out there think it's a good idea to poison your heart to make you feel better? Who the heck thinks that's a good idea? Your doctor and the medical model, but I just had to throw that in. you can see the lunacy here. So they're looking at your heart, and so they give you a medication for your heart, several actually, and actually you're on a beta blocker, a calcium channel blocker, as if one form of poison for your heart's not enough. So now you got two, and then they're also. I hate having to not talk to your doctor. I wish I could talk to your doctor right now, but I can't. So you're on two heart poisons, if you will, a calcium channel blocker and a beta blocker, and then you're on a blood thinner. Okay, so your cardiovascular system is really being hit hard with major weaponry because they're trying to calm your heart down. And when you go into AFib, because the blood doesn't, you know what AFib is, your heart kind of jiggles, right? So instead of beating like this, it jiggles. And because it jiggles, the circulation, the blood doesn't circulate as effectively, so it has a higher tendency to clot. So in order to protect against the clots, they give you a blood thinner. Okay, you know, I don't even want to think of that. Get started on that. So, and then you're hypothyroid, which is the jumping off point to everything else. Suppose it all begins. Digestion. So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, belabor the point. How long do you think you've had digestive health issues for?
So that started in 92 when they took it out. 92 is when they took out the
No,
gallbladder.
come on. Why would they take out the gallbladder if you didn't have a digestive problem?
They
Obviously,
took it,
they
yeah,
took
they took it out.
because
It was
what?
blocked, like pea gravel blocking up.
What is that? What is gravel? What does that mean? You had a digestive problem. They took out the gallbladder as a digestive structure. You understand that, right? The gallbladder is part of your digestive system, right?
Yep.
So they took it out because it wasn't working properly. So you had a digestive problem by definition. Right. Part of the digestive system wasn't working. Right. So what I'm saying is you had a digestive issue for a long time. And it showed up as a gallbladder issue, as stones. So instead of backtracking, and everybody out there, when you have stones, you got a digestive issue. Stones are the end result of an intestinal problem. So the answer is not to take out the darn organ. The answer is to work on the intestinal health and digestive health. On top of all that, the intestine and there's a major relationship between the gallbladder and blood sugar. Gallbladder and bile are one of the control points for blood sugar. So chances are you had a blood sugar problem percolating along, but once they took the gallbladder out, then you have more blood sugar issues. Okay. And once all that happens, once you get the blood sugar issues and the gallbladder issues, you're going to end up with adrenal stress issues. You're probably dealing with adrenal issues, things like anxiety, insomnia. It could have even involved, it can even be the cause of the AFib. And then that affects the thyroid. Right. And so that reason I wanted to talk about this is because this is classic. You are a classic case of the obliviousness of the medical model to the triangle of disease. And if you understand the triangle of disease, and if everybody out there understands the triangle of disease, this is going to save will save you and your friends gallbladder and longevity and health down the road. So without, you know, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to belabor the point, but you got to get to the source of the matter, and that's the intestine. You have the gallbladder removed, and that's going to compromise you a little bit because you're not going to be able to absorb your fats as effectively, and you're not going to be able to detoxify substances. The bile is not only important for digestion, we always talk about that, but it's also important, as I mentioned, for blood sugar. It's a control point for blood sugar, and it's a detoxification fluid, particularly for hormones. So there's a whole bunch of stuff happening. I can't tell you about the drug. I can't tell you what to do with the drugs. That's between you and your doctor. But I can tell you that you want to work with your doctor to figure out how to wean yourself off. At this point, probably the most important symptom that you have involves your heart and the AFib. Right? Now, there's a very close relationship between AFib and dysglycemia, not diabetes, dysglycemia. So you want to get your blood sugar under control. The blood is probably inflamed, and once the blood becomes inflamed, oxygenation to the heart is compromised. And AFib is most important cause is a problem with oxygenation of the cardiac tissue, the heart tissue. So oxygenation is going to be very important for you. Anything that you could do to improve blood flow, that is slow, deep breathing techniques, use your diaphragm as a pump, a secondary heart, or as an adjunct to your heart. Slow, deep breathing. In, the diaphragm goes down, exhale, the diaphragm goes up. As you're slow, deep breathing, you're pumping the diaphragm. And the pumping action of the diaphragm will improve circulation. Does that make sense? Okay. Another thing you can do to improve circulation, in addition to oxygenation and diaphragmatic breathing, is water. and liquids. You want to liquefy the blood. That will also help dilute your blood sugar, because one of the reasons the blood becomes sluggish and doesn't oxygenate the heart as well is because it's glycating. And not just the heart, but also the vessels. You with me? So
Yep.
you want to reduce your blood sugar. I'd be going ketogenic, I'd be low calorie, get on the healthy blood sugar pack, the sweeties, the FucoidZ will do double duty here. The FucoidZ will help lower your blood sugar,
I'm sorry.
and the FucoidZ will improve circulation.
Okay.
Glucogel caps will improve circulation.
Mhm.
AJ mentioned the Ultimate EFAs. That will improve circulation. So you're going to want to focus on improving circulation. Follow me?
Yep.
Okay, so all those nutrients are going to help, but don't underestimate the importance of the intestine.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, you probably heard us talking about dirty blood and leaky gut and all that.
Yep.
So working on intestinal health.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most standout features of the longevity nutritional supplement line are the digestive supplements.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you do for digestive health, Nightly Essence, Ultimate Microbiome, I-26, a whole bunch of those. AJ can walk you through those. You probably already know those.
And added the enzymes in too.
That's exactly right. And if you take the enzymes on an empty stomach, they'll help thin the blood.
Okay.
They'll help improve blood circulation. And glucogel caps will also help improve blood circulation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last piece of the puzzle is your thyroid. Now, you cannot work on the thyroid by itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you could do. There's no specific way to deal with the thyroid. The medicine they're giving you does not deal with the thyroid. Do you understand this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's thyroid hormone. You're on, you said, was it levothyroxine? I didn't catch what you said.
Yeah, the unithroid.
That's levothyroxine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So levothyroxine is T4. You have two thyroid hormones. You got weak or pre-thyroid hormone, and then you got the active stuff, and that's T3. Yep. So you're getting the weak form of thyroid hormone.
Okay.
The weak form of thyroid hormone has to be converted into the strong form of thyroid hormone. And guess what part of the body turns T4 to T3? The intestine.
The intestine, okay.
Yes, bacteria in the intestine are responsible for converting T4 into T3. So if you have dysbiosis, if you have an intestinal problem, which you most likely do, it's not going to help your thyroid. You're going to have an issue with thyroid. But by calming the body down, stabilizing the blood sugar, reducing the flow of toxins into the blood, making the blood more fluid and less sticky, oxygenating the heart and oxygenating the other tissues. And you haven't mentioned anything about high blood pressure, but I imagine your blood pressure's got to be high as well with all of these symptoms. You're going to go a long way towards protecting your adrenal glands. And that will help the thyroid. You follow? So you can't work on each specific system directly.
Right.
And that's the key, is you got to go upstream. As AJ likes to say, you go to the root, not the fruit. You can't take care of it, right? It's not the fruit, it's the root, right? If you go to the fruit doctor, he's going to take care of the fruit.
Yep.
You got to go to the root doctor, and that's Dr. Wallach, and that's us here at Jeff. Does that all that make sense?
Yep. I'm trying to reverse that compartmentalization that's been done to me.
Yes.
Over all three.
Compartmentalizing you, exactly. And that's just the way the medical model works. And that's the biggest flaw in the medical model. So thank you, Natalie.
So quick question on the, addressing all of these from, that whole digestive piece to the blood sugar, which to me was probably where the tipping point for the thyroid piece started leading to the shutdown of the endocrine and the
your endocrine's not shut down. I don't think did you say that?
Well, I go that by the endocrinologist said that when she saw me in fall of 23, I was on a dose of 218 of the NP thyroid that she said was 10 times what should have been for my body weight, that it basically told my endocrine to shut down.
They put you on a high level on too much thyroid hormone?
Yep, and didn't watch the other things like the cardio and whatever, and eventually that's what flipped the body.
That's why you said that. Okay, I see what you're saying. That's why you said that the hypothyroidism was caused by what? Did you say? I didn't catch that. By too much thyroid hormone.
Too much thyroid medication over a longer period of time.
Probably wasn't a good idea that you were overdosed, but I don't think I'm not sure that's the case. I'd want more information. But that
probably just tip the scale.
Just go on. Just simplify. Digestive health, liquefy or fluidize your blood with all the techniques we talked about, and keep your blood sugar down. And that's really what I'd be doing.
Yeah, the hardest part of that.
Gallbladder, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the The frustrational part is working, unfortunately, with a doctor who believes once the AFIB comes into play, you're always a cardiac condition,
Well,
and doesn't want to hear anything about taking me off of any meds. He's already upset that I'm off of the
well, he's upset.
Eloquence, which, yeah.
You don't have to worry about upsetting your doctor. That's the least of your worries.
Yeah.
If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
Okay, and so that's his tools. You know, he's a
Right.
hammer guy, so everything looks like a nail band. Now
Mhm.
you want to go upstream. The drugs you're on, the beta blocker and the calcium channel blocker, are not kind drugs, nor
Mhm.
is the Eloquence. Now, it's true that if your heart's not working, you run a high risk of blood clots and stroke, and you don't want that. So
Mhm.
until you get everything working, you do want to stay at least on the Eloquence. Yeah, well, I'm not telling you anything about the drugs. That's between you and your doctor, but you want to work with your doctor to wean yourself off.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Natalie.
All right. Thanks, AJ.
All right. Speak
care,
to you
buddy.
soon. Pharmacist Ben, we've
Gotcha.
did I use the word bevy already?
You
We've
did say
got
Bevy.
I did say bevy. We got a bunch of questions. Mosh Tag on YouTube, also a certified holistic health coach. And if you want to become a certified holistic health coach, like Natalie and me and everyone else that you will see on the screen later, you can go to, Becca will tell us where to go to, and I will forward that. Mosh Tag says he is a client in their late 50s diagnosed with multiple myeloma a few years ago, did a bone marrow transplant, currently taking SSRI, Eliquis, Aclover, which is an antiviral, Revlimid for immune system. She used the foundational 90 for 1 month, is currently doing a gut protocol, which you know what they are. Recent blood test shows a dramatic increase in antibodies. Could you explain why this might be happening? What they're looking at the wrong perspective, like seeing too much calcium in the blood and saying you must stop taking calcium.
All right. Well, that's because they're not biochemists; they're clinical chemists. Clinical chemistry is the chemistry of test scores. Biochemistry is the chemistry of you. You're not a test score. You're a biology, a biological entity. You're not a test score. Doctors look at test scores. They don't look at biology. Calcium in the blood goes up when your blood becomes toxic or acidic, really. And calcium is used as a buffering agent to neutralize the acid. That's what causes calcium, not ingestion of calcium. That's nonsense. When you take calcium orally, there's many mechanisms that are in place to control the entrance of that calcium through the intestine, including parathyroid hormone and vitamin D and magnesium. It's not like you eat calcium and it goes into your blood immediately. That's just not how it happens. And, you know, doctors can be forgiven for thinking that because they don't understand really how biochemistry works necessarily. Some of them do, but necessarily. So I was a little confused though, because you said that she had multiple myeloma, but then she reversed it, or does she still have multiple myeloma?
Still has multiple myeloma. Well, had it a few years ago, but did a bone marrow transplant, and they're giving her suppressive things for her immune system to
Yeah, well, look,
not sure why, but
I don't know. It seems crazy to me that anybody would want to suppress the immune system for any reason without figuring out why the immune system is activated.
Mosh Tag, come into the Zoom room, zoom.dailywithdoc.com. We're gonna move on to Jill. Hopefully Jill's got a simple question before we go to Marilyn, who's got a less simple question.
What happened to the multiple myeloma? What happened to the gal with multiple myeloma? Are we going to take care of that?
Well, you know, if you've got more to say about that, but I was asking.
Multiple myeloma is a cancer where white blood, where you have elevated white blood cells, where you have, you know, it affects the plasma cells, the white blood cells that produce the antibodies. So yes, you know, that makes sense, but I thought you said that they had that addressed. So if they have a problem with their immune cells, too many immune cells being produced, there's something that's interfering with there's something that's interfering with the healthy production of immune cells, and that's involved inflammation. And that's the key to everything. There's no chronic degenerative disease, multiple myeloma or any other, that is not preceded by inflammation. Inflammation of the plasma cells, or inflammation of the bone marrow, or inflammation in the blood. So the inflammation is a defensive response, and that means something's getting into the body that the body wants to defend against. So for Mosh Tag, and again, it's understandable because we live in a culture where we get sick, we go to the doctor. But the doctor isn't going to go upstream and look what's causing the inflammation. That's really where you got to work. So once you're into multiple myeloma, it means it's been going on for a long time. And the only thing the medical folks know how to do is to work on the immune system, is to suppress the immune system. Chemotherapy, bone marrow transplants, immunotherapy, all of the different strategies that they have for shutting down the immune system.
What about the fecal matter transplant? They do that one?
No, they don't do that for that, but yeah,
Okay.
they do. You just wanted to throw that out there, didn't you?
I did. But he said that she's still dealing with the multiple myeloma. The free caprolite chains antibodies have significantly increased, I'm gathering, because
They have not
of
solved the
nutrition.
problem. Yeah, they haven't solved the problem. They're trying to solve the symptom, but they're not solving the problem. So as long as you have something that's getting into the system that's triggering this kind of inflammatory response, you're going to have immune cells. You're going to have a high level of immune cells. So you got to figure out what's getting into the system that's triggering into the blood. When I say the system, I mean the blood. That's triggering this condition. So it always comes down to something through a leaky gut, through food. And so most egg should know, probably knows, that he or she has a history of digestive health issues. Is most egg on the call?
Moshtag is in YouTube, and he's trying to fix her gut with the I-26.
I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying telling you about the gut because I want to scold you. That's not the point. I'm not trying to scold anybody, so you don't have to tell me that. What I'm saying is, can you see the connection between the two, between the gut and the between intestinal health and ultimately multiple myeloma? You have long-standing digestive health issues. Ask Mostek, are there long-standing digestive health issues there?
Well, it says Moshtag, we're gonna. He can't get on the Zoom. He's saying, why would the antibodies increase significantly after using nutrition and working on the gut? And I guess the answer is you haven't solved the leaky gut issue.
You haven't solved the problem, correct. If you haven't solved the problem, yeah, your antibodies are going to still stay high. It's not like the nutrition caused your antibodies to go up. That's not how it works. You haven't solved the problem. You're still doing what you did to cause the problem in the first place, that initiate the problem. So ask Mostek, are you communicating with Mostek? Why doesn't Mostek come on so we can talk?
He said he can't come on Zoom. He might be mobile.
Have him call me. Just
Mostek, you got the number. Give a call. Jill,
yeah.
What you got?
Hi, I know you taught me how to be simple. I do actually have two.
Okay.
The first one is just a regular customer of mine went and had, the checkup and was told she has precancerous polyps, which they removed. And so
Where?
now in her inner colon.
Okay.
So now she wants to know what she should be doing. Now, I will tell you, she definitely has digestive issues. She's been on our nutrition for 1.5 years. She does take ultimate enzymes. She has no gallbladder, but and she takes.
You answered your question. You can see. I'm glad. It's starting to make enough sense that you can sort of do your own troubleshooting here, right, Joe?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what you. She also has endometriosis
all related. The
and
intestine,
estrogen dominance.
all related.
Okay.
The intestine is one of the major clearing points for estrogen. Yeah, that's first of all. So when you have intestinal problems or dysbiosis, it's very likely, or it's very possible to have estrogen issues. That's what endometriosis is. And that's what was the other one you said? Fibromyalgia? What was the other thing you said? Endometriosis and
estrogen dominance.
Estrogen dominance. For everybody who's listening, that means your estrogen is high, basically. And estrogen dominance is a problem because estrogen is associated with cancer, it's associated with hypothyroidism, reproductive problems, etc. So estrogen dominance is a significant issue because the intestine is one of the major systems for detoxifying estrogen. It makes perfect sense. Where do all roads lead to at this point?
Digestive.
Yes, she had an intestinal problem. And you said she had a gallbladder removed too. The gallbladder helps clear out estrogen. So you can see when you target, I hope everybody's seeing this. When you try to target specific systems in a vacuum, you can't help but cause a problem. It's all connected. You can't go to work on the gallbladder independently, the intestine independently, the adrenals independently, the thyroid independently. Guaranteed, by the way, she's hypothyroid on top of everything else. And so you got this whole big complex and you got to go back to the root. If you try to deal with it at the fruit level, it's going to be fruitless.
She also had 15 polyps in her stomach, but it was quite a long time ago. They removed two
Well,
of them.
she's had for her to take the gallbladder out, for her to have the gallbladder taken out, that means she's had a history of food problems. The major
Yeah.
reason for gallbladder removal, cholecystectomy, is about 500,000 of them done every year, is stones. And the major reason for stones is food problems, leaky gut.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
So with knowing that she has the estrogen dominance and endometriosis, she is 62. I mean, obviously she
And
has to work
I
on.
hope she's not on hormone replacement therapy. You should say
No,
so.
I don't think so. I really don't. I will double check, but I do not think so. But I'm just wondering what if it might make some sense to try the New Hope package, which I know has a good
It wouldn't hurt.
probiotic in it.
Wouldn't hurt at all. It wouldn't hurt at
yeah.
all.
What about some FucoidZ?
FucoidZ would help, absolutely.
Well, yeah, of
Absolutely.
course. Okay, and then the second one, thank you, Ben. And the second one is mast cell activation. What can you tell me about that?
Is it
And
the same person?
no, different person.
So that's one of the kind of latest diagnoses that you're going to hear a lot about.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, and it's it can be pretty significant. Do you ever hear people who get rashes when they go out in the sun poisoning?
Yes.
Okay. You ever hear of people, sometimes they go in the shower under hot water and they'll get rashes from the hot water?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's kind of bizarre, right? Rashes from hot water, rashes from the sun. Those are classic signs of a hyperactive immune system.
Yep. Which I used to have. I used to have a hyperimmune system myself.
Okay. Did you have this kind of condition where you get sun rashes?
No. No.
Some people can actually, like, they'll take their fingernail and they can write their name in their skin, and it'll where they write their name, it'll kind of raise up because of inflammation. That's a very, very sensitized system. For women, sometimes their waistband, their underwear waistband, their bra strap will cause a rash. Any kind of pressure, that's a super sensitized system.
Okay.
Mast cells live throughout the body, the blood, etc., but mostly in the intestine. When your body the intestine is chronically attacked, eventually the mast cells will become chronically activated. Mast cells make chemicals that, like histamine, that cause blood vessels to open, that activate the immune response. So mast cell activation syndrome means a bunch of things happening from one cause, right? So mast cell activation syndrome is a bunch of things that happen from one cause, which is mast cell activation, which is a hyperactive immune system, which is an intestinal problem.
Okay.
So that's what mast cell activation syndrome is. Do the whole food diary, food elimination, digestive health strategies, I-26, nightly essence, daily digest, FucoidZ, everything for the digestive system. Mast cell activation syndrome should be backtracked to the intestine.
Okay. And you mentioned histamine?
Histamine is released by the mast cells, and it's made by bacteria, and it's also made by, it's also triggered by certain foods. They're histamine-releasing foods. Leftovers, fermented foods are especially problematic histamine inducers.
Interesting.
And they're not on the good food, bad food list. So whenever somebody says, "Oh, but I'm only eating the good food,"
know
I'm gluten-free. That's just, you can see how silly that is. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's interesting that you just said that, because, like I said, I used to have autoimmune disease for 20 years.
Yeah, no more?
No, no
That's
more.
awesome.
Not for 11.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What flavor autoimmune disease?
Lupus. I had rheumatoid arthritis and joint pain.
Wow. And you don't have it anymore.
I had 5 factors of lupus. Yes.
Is this Jill I'm talking to?
Yep.
Jill, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You realize that should not happen according to your doctor.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. But the first
great.
foods that bothered me were fermented. You're the first person that's ever pointed that out, was cucumbers and fermented food. Like if I had marinated mushrooms or something, oh my God, I would be out of my brain.
And they're not on the list.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
People say, but I'm just eating the good foods and I'm off all gluten. What's going on?
And onion soup, like, could have hospitalized me, so, but that's interesting, because nobody else has ever said that before.
Yes.
Not that we're talking about me, we're not, but I heard that.
But there's others too. Bananas and cheeses and dried fruit, citrus fruit, spinach. These are all high histamine foods. And you say, oh, but I'm only a vegetarian, I just eat spinach. Well, you could be having a problem with histamine. strawberries, even fish. These are good foods that can have that can be associated either with they have high histamine in them, or they can trigger histamine. Leftovers, by the way, are a classic example of a food that could be a good food, but because it's leftover, there's bacteria that are acting on that food, it could be a high histamine food.
So when you say strawberries, like if somebody itches, that could be what you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yes, and sometimes people think they're allergic to strawberries, or they're allergic to oranges or citrus. Citrus can be high histamine.
Or even seafood. How about shrimp?
Same with shrimp and seafood, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the insightful question, Jill. And if you would like to get a copy of the food diary that Ben just mentioned, go to criticalhealthnews.com, join the mailing list, and you will automatically be sent a copy of the food diary. Marilyn, let's talk about your painful question.
Well, I have two, so that's fun. Okay, he didn't think I was going to ask the second one, but anyway, the first one, I have a specific issue with arthritis. Now, we all know it's a calcium absorption issue.
Whoa, hang on. We all know what?
Okay, it's a calcium absorption.
We all don't know that because I don't.
No? Okay.
But go ahead. Is it rheumatoid
Okay, this
arthritis?
is my
Is it
this is my
rheumatoid
understanding.
arthritis or is it osteoarthritis?
I've always just lumped it together.
Osteo is degenerative.
Okay.
Wear and tear, they say. And that is, nutritional, of course, and eating a lot of inflammatory foods and not enough antioxidants, cartilage building foods, etc. And that happens with age. But rheumatoid arthritis is a little bit more significant in the sense that that's an immune problem.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Okay, yes, I understand that. So it's osteoarthritis.
Okay.
That I'm
is it for you, Marilyn?
addressing. Okay. So everyone seems to have, when they're arthritis, they always say it's a calcium buildup in all the joints.
Who says that?
That's it.
Calcium.
Every doctor, they say.
No, they don't.
They say you have arthritis.
No, it's a degenerative condition. Arthritis means inflamed joints.
Okay.
Right? Calcium could be involved because calcium is kind of like a repair system, and it might be in there to help support the joints that are the cartilage that's deteriorating. But it's basically a cartilage issue.
Okay. When Dr. Wallach has talked about lack of calcium or minerals, he says the body will use the parathyroid glands to go and search for these minerals.
It will
and
use
then he
said, wait a minute. It'll use the pure thyroid gland? What do you mean by pure thyroid gland?
He's talked about when the body is lacking calcium. Okay. Or bone minerals.
Yeah.
The body will go searching for these minerals in the existing bone tissue of the body through the parathyroid glands.
I'm not quite understanding any of that stuff, but go ahead. What's the question? Why don't you just ask me the question?
Okay. What I'm wondering is, people have like calcium. They have stones. Like,
let's just put a sentence with a question mark at the end.
How can I explain it?
No explanation. Sentence, question mark. How, what, where, when, why?
Okay. If you have a calcium buildup, like on your hand, in your wrist joint.
Okay.
Why is that happening?
Why do you have a calcium buildup in certain areas?
Yeah, it's specifically, they say that these occur in the joints.
Calcium buildups in various joints, crystallization, is a sign that the blood is becoming supersaturated and calcium is starting to precipitate. And that's what forms what you're asking for, that's like stones and such. It's not too much calcium. It's a blood issue. It's a sign that the calcium is not staying soluble in the blood. You with me?
Okay.
Okay. So it's a blood issue. It's not a calcium issue. What is it that causes the blood to lose its solubilizing power? Right? Now, there's specific reasons like pH. It usually has to do with pH. But really, to simplify it, it's dirty blood. Remember, everything boils down to the same basic ideas. Dirty blood or digestive problems, inflammation, is all basically the same idea. So what you're talking about is calcium deposition, which can happen. Calcification of tissues is a thing. That's one of the ways we die, actually. Our heart calcifies. And so calcification is an issue. Calcification is a sign that the blood is not able to handle all that calcium. The blood is becoming calcium rich because it's toxic, and or acid, I should say, acidic. And that's one of the ways that the body will neutralize the calcium, the acid, is by releasing calcium from the bones. You with me? To be clear here, calcium is a super active element. Super active. When we think of calcium, there's a tendency to think of it as being inert. It's like a rock, kind of like your teeth or your skeletal system. But really, calcium is a very, very, very important activating agent for cells. And in fact, you can have calcium toxicity, where you have too much calcium activation and cells burn out from all that activation. That's why there's all these systems in place for controlling calcium, specifically parathyroid hormone, but there's other systems as well that keep the calcium regulated. You only have a very small amount of your total body calcium is in the blood. Very small amount because it's so powerful. So the body has to control it with vitamin K and magnesium and parathyroid hormone. And all of these various mechanisms are in place to keep the amount of calcium just so in the blood. However, as a global systemic metabolic deterioration in the body occurs, eventually all of this gets thrown off. One of the ways the body deals with the high acid level of the blood, the low pH, is by releasing calcium into the blood. Eventually that calcium is going to get dumped off into the tissues. That's why we calcify. We calcify at the end as an end result of this flow from the bones to the blood to the tissues. That's how we calcify. Bone to blood to tissues, not from supplements. So what you're talking about with calcium in the joints, calcium crystals in the joints, you're talking about a blood issue, not a calcium issue. And of course, we know that dirty blood's behind everything, so that shouldn't be a surprise.
Okay.
Okay?
Follow up. Does calcification also refer to buildup in the artery?
Yes, absolutely. Now, the arteries, absolutely. Calcium's also part of patches. It's used by the body to patch things up as part of cholesterol, as part of plaque formation, like cholesterol plaques. But it's basically a blood issue, yes, including calcium in the arteries.
Okay.
Hold on, Marilyn. Nancy, the answer to your question is part of excess calcium an imbalance with magnesium? Would the person need more magnesium?
That can help, and vitamin K too.
But ultimately, it's acidic blood.
Yes, exactly. It's not too much calcium. So, sometimes doctors will say, stop taking your calcium. It's not too much calcium. It's a blood issue.
So stop eating sugar. Marilyn, go.
So stop eating sugar, taking the nutrients, and taking probably in more fat-soluble vitamins.
What's that?
And taking in more fat-soluble vitamins.
Absolutely, and improving digestive health.
Okay. My second question, I have a client with a hemorrhoid. Now, it's not visible. It's not external.
It's an internal.
It's internal.
Yeah.
Extremely painful.
It's terrible.
She doesn't think it's serious because her doctor didn't recommend surgery. She wants to hear the protocol for you and how to reduce that.
Is this patient chronically constipated? That's what I'd want to know. And that's how you do it. Fiber, more water, nightly essence. If there's any food issues, what did somebody say? I heard somebody say something. Did somebody just contribute some information there?
No worries.
I didn't hear that. Yeah, it could be a constipation issue because when we push, that can cause an inflamed hemorrhoid. By the way, when you say you have hemorrhoids, that's kind of a colloquial way of saying an inflamed hemorrhoidal vein. The hemorrhoid is a vein, the hemorrhoidal vein. So we call it hemorrhoids colloquially, but it really means that the hemorrhoidal vein is inflamed. And yes, pushing is one of the most important causes. Venous insufficiency can be another cause.
And
They're usually related. What's that?
So now would you suggest specific nutrients like copper because of the elasticity?
No,
I
would recommend she works on her digestive health. Copper's not a bad idea. Copper and zinc go together, by the way. A lot of people who live in big cities, municipals, who are drinking out of old municipal water supply, like New York City and older cities, they'll get a lot of copper through the pipes. And that can lead to a zinc deficiency because copper and zinc high levels of copper will cause excretion of zinc and vice versa. If you're taking zinc, that can lead to a copper deficiency if you're not all taking copper. So copper's tricky because copper can be very pro-aging as well as anti-aging if it's oxidized. And it's kind of unstable. So the best probably the best way to get your copper is from high protein foods and such. But if you want to supplement with copper, the plant-derived copper, the colloidal copper is a good way to get your copper.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate both
Thank
those.
you, Marilyn. Thank you for everything you do for the team. Michelle's up next, but we have a quick, Michelle, unmute yourself. The next
Hello.
question is from GNU Tech, and I'm going to ask GNU Tech to email us at questions@dailywithdoc.com. What can I take to reduce acne on my face after shaving?
Okay, so I don't know that acne. Is this person saying they don't have acne unless they shave?
Oh, well, I'm gathering you're saying they're getting some extra bumps.
Because the bumps, I don't know that if the bumps are due to the shaving, that's different from acne. If they shave and then they get bumps, that's not acne. That's bumps. That's different than acne. Acne is there are 3 factors that have to be put in place for an acne lesion to appear, and unfortunately, the term acne, ACNE, is applied to a lot of different lesions on the skin. And so when you say acne, there's real acne, but then there's just lesions on the face that appear on the skin that get called acne. So I'm not sure what this person's talking about. But real acne to occur, number 1, skin cells, keratinocytes, have to be dividing very rapidly inside the follicle. When skin cells divide very rapidly inside the follicle, they'll release the protein keratin. That's what they make. Keratinocytes make keratin, and you get these hard protein keratin plugs in the follicle. That's not acne yet, though. That's a hard plug. Inside the follicle, not all follicles, but inside some follicles, there's a little oil pump, a gland called the sebaceous gland, which is actually a type of skin derivative of a skin cell, and that's pumping out oil. When you have oil being pumped out into a plugged area, that can create an inflammation. You can sort of picture that. You got a plug and you got oil being formed, and that creates a sort of a plugged area, inflamed plug area. It's still not acne yet, though. If there are bacteria present on the surface of the skin that are trapped inside that follicle as the keratin is being formed, the hard protein is being formed, and the skin cells are dividing, now you've got oil, sebum, and you've got a hard plug, and you've got bacteria in a nice dark place with lots of stuff to eat. Then you get your true acne pimple. That's acne. 3 things: keratinization, that's the production of keratin and rapid division of skin cells; sebaceous, sebum secretions; and bacteria. Shaving is not going to do that. So when he says he gets bumps after shaving, I'm not really sure what he's referring to, but that's not acne. So for real acne, you've got 3 places to work. Number 1, you stabilize the growth of the keratinocytes so you don't have the plug in the first place, and that's vitamin A or retinoids. That's why retin A is used. And you can take vitamin A orally. Vitamin D can help too. Then there's the sebum secretion, the oil secretion, as we talked about earlier, AJ, that you slow down oil secretion by calming the body down, preventing hypoglycemia, laying off sugar, stress, etc. Anything that spikes sebum, that causes sebum to secrete. That's the second stage. And then the last stage, which is what dermatologists approach, but it doesn't work all the time because you haven't taken care of the first 2 stages, is antibacterial.
Fantastic. GNU Tech, email questions@dailywithdoc.com so that you can personally chat with our skin expert. Michelle, what you got for us?
Well, so I've got an uncle. So macular degeneration seems to run in the family. We all know about epigenetics, but also blood clotting, which we know is dirty blood. But 83 years old and doesn't want to listen to what I've learned, that EFAs are essential to getting rid of the sticky blood. And so can you address why ZRadical isn't the best choice and why taking more EFAs is more
Who am I
healthy?
addressing? Well, ZRadical is a prescription drug.
Mm-hmm.
prescription drugs are poisons. I'm not saying that, metaphorically, they're literally poisons. They got to be detoxified. Your body's going to use nutrients to detoxify the ZRadical. Essential fatty acids are nutrients. They're not just important for the blood, they're important for the hormone system, for the skin, for the brain, for the nervous system. They're important for a lot of things. All cells need essential fatty acids for cell membranes. So do you really need me? Does that person need me really to tell you the difference?
Well, you are the pharmacist, and
now there are
they listen to the pharmacist.
Well, listen though. There's times when you need prescription drugs, and if you're 83 years old and you don't want to change your entire life, yeah, you might need the ZRadical. But if you want to do it the nutritional way, yeah, essential fatty acids, in addition to all the other things we talked about. FucoidZ will help thin the blood, oxygen, water, bromelain, nattokinase, glucosamine. There's lots of ways to thin the blood. Vitamin E. There's lots of ways to thin the blood. Doctors like drugs because they can kind of control them. They're not worried about the toxicity as much as the way that they're standardized and controlled. With nutrition is kind and gentle. You don't have as much control as you do with a prescription drug, which is just cut and dry, relative to nutrition. Nutrition is a little vague and fuzzy. So doctors don't really like to work with nutrition. Personally, as a pharmacist, I don't see why anybody would use prescription drugs when most health challenges have some kind of nutritional deficiency at their port. So this person, like you said, has dirty blood, right? So what causes the blood to become dirty?
Sugar.
Well, sugar is one thing, but
generally
toxicity is getting into the blood.
What about this wet macular degeneration?
So wet macular degeneration and dry macular degeneration are just two silly distinctions. It's just macular degeneration. Doesn't matter whether it's wet or it's dry. Wet just has more wet material, pus and such, or infectious material, probably degenerative material. It doesn't really matter. It's the degeneration that counts. The macula is degenerating. The macula degenerates the same reason the joints degenerate, the same reason the bones degenerate, the same reason anything degenerates. Wear and tear, lack of nutrition, accumulation of toxicity, and oxygen and hypoxia, or low oxygen. It's the same thing. So the macula is a little bit different in the sense that it's being affected by light. So you want to start using some specific nutrients that help the eyes deal with light, work with light. And there's a bunch: vitamin E, taurine, NAC, vitamin C, sulfur, selenium. These are all pigments, colors, reds, yellows, oranges, Vision FX, Occutive. There's a little bit more specific for the eyes, because the eyes are somewhat unusual tissue because they're on the outside of the body and they're subject to light the way the spleen or the liver isn't. So you can do some additional things for the eye, but it's basically a degenerative condition. And wet or dry is a medical distinction. It's not a functional distinction. It doesn't really matter from a healing perspective.
Okay, so we just get back to what you've all said all along is toxification, suffocation, and starvation. So
what's that?
So what I'm just repeating what you say.
Yes. Toxification, suffocation, starvation. Absolutely. Leads to inflammation. It's all the same thing. Macular degeneration is arthritis of the macula. Arthritis is macular degeneration of the joints. Same idea.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And the whole calcification issue involves a low pH acidosis, as we were talking about earlier. That whole calcification thing, that's really important to understand. And that's the most important thing we just talked about here, because this whole idea of calcium, elevated blood calcium, being associated with calcium supplements it's not true.
And so he lives in southern Utah. Do you believe that there's a lot of people down there get the skin cancer? Do you believe there's anything to what they say about southern Utah with that?
What do they say?
Oh, well, they say it's because of the testing underground of the nuclear bombs.
It probably doesn't help. I don't know. I would think there's more important causes, but I'm sure it doesn't help.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for all
here.
Thank you, Pharmacist Ben, for everything you do for our community. You're an important, clearly an extremely important part of this community.
Yes.
I will miss you on Monday. I'm going to start crying now because there's no Ben's bites on Monday. And there may not be Pharmacist Ben on Friday, but we will make sure to have some important information for you folks at some point next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Pharmacist Ben, thank you very much. Everybody give Pharmacist Ben
Thank you.
a well-deserved round of applause. Thank you for the rapid fire and for everything you do, man.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
See you soon. And that is Pharmacist Ben's Bites. I just want to thank everyone, especially our illustrious leader, Becca Dukes, who's in the background, you know, making things happen for us. And I want to thank Jill and Albert and Dennis and Ovita and who did I miss? Christy and Brenda Teresa and Kathy and Jill and Ray and Bill and Corey and Elise and Greg and Garland and Joan and Lorna and Rance and Beverly and Joan and our friend iPad Zach, our man, and Carol and Marlene and Linda and Sandra and Nancy and then Nancy and Verna and Barbara. That macular degeneration was one of your questions. Linda and Senator Siplin, and who else we got? Brenda, Bill, Laura, Zoom user, and Phyllis. Who we got on YouTube? All right, Phyllis.
We got Olga, Bruce, Dave, Moshta, you said was on there.
And everyone else who's joined us today, thank you. We can't do it without you. We need your participation. Please like and share. If this is your first time with us, please make sure you get back with the person that told you about this program. And if there is no one that introduced you to the program and you found it on your own and you've got further questions, reach out to a certified holistic health coach by going to dailywithdoc.com, calling 855-949-3377, or emailing questions@dailywithdoc.com. And I couldn't have done this show without the team. So thankful that everybody's here. Again, Becca and Ruth Ellen are background folks, but Phyllis should be spelled with an F for fabulous, but she's fantastic doing what she does. And Marilyn, our friend Fingers, on the scene, doing double duty, bringing in questions, putting things in the chat. And our main man, Albert, from South Africa, you got to see some of Albert's wildlife videos. Like, he goes out of his house and there's a giraffe. You got gorillas? You see gorillas too, Albert? Any gorillas?
No, we don't have gorillas yet, but we've got some pretty big baboons.
Yeah, big baboons. You know, that is what our show is all about, a group of big baboons. Everyone, thank you very much for being with us on another episode of Pharmacist Fridays on Daily with Doc and Becca, and we shall see you again soon. Bye-bye.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal